Are you the victim of workplace backstabbing? Unfortunately, a lot of us have experienced betrayal in the workplace. I myself can probably write a whole 3 to 6 to 9 to 12 part novel series based on my experience alone. So today, I'm going to bring to the forefront the crazy world of workplace backstabbing and share some examples that you probably can relate to. In a survey from SHRM conducted earlier this year, over 1,000 U.S. employees found that 66% say that they have witnessed workplace incivility, which is another term for backstabbing, in their workplace within the past month. And then over half, so 57% of those people have experienced this incivility at work within the past week. Good grief. So basically, the disrespect is rampant. So let's get on the same page with what workplace backstabbing is. You might also hear the term incivility, which is a deep lack of professionalism. It's a phenomenon that has been gaining a lot of momentum in the past couple of years, especially in today's professional landscape. It's not surprising. Why? We rely a lot on technology. And by relying on technology, we have less accountability to be good people at work. So technology and remote work, it's becoming easier for colleagues to sabotage each other without even being in the same room. Ew. So that makes people feel like they don't have to work on the people part of their job. It doesn't matter if you're responsible for people or if you're front facing, but you don't work in a silo. Even if you're an entrepreneur, to some degree, you're communicating with other people, partners, vendors, whoever. So it allows people to escape culpability for being good people. This is not just a symptom of work. As a society, we're moving away from community, right? We used to listen to music together. We used to watch TV together. And now with our AirPods, with our phones, we can do everything as we're our own islands walking around on this earth. So it's just a symptom that's pouring over into work. What I'm noticing in working with leaders and building people up, that there is just a deprioritization of people skills, which makes workplace relationships way more complex. We can't keep ignoring this though, because it creates unnecessary emotional, mental, and professional distress that is affecting everybody in the room, not just you. This distress is contagious, which affects how well we can all show up and be good leaders, be good colleagues, and do the best at our work. So what does this backstabbing or workplace betrayal look like? Well, it can look like undermining somebody else's ideas. We should be able to freely disagree, know that everybody doesn't need your opinion. So to undercut someone who maybe have an idea that's different than yours, or maybe it doesn't apply or is not helpful, you don't undercut them as if their efforts to contribute aren't worth anything. I coach a lot of people who don't even speak up just because that's not their nature. They take a little bit of asking questions and to pull things out of them. And in certain situations, things can be intimidating. So if that's the case, you don't undercut somebody's ideas. That may seem simple to you, or maybe you feel like they're rambling, whatever it is. There's a way that you do it that still respects that person and their ideas. It could also look like gaslighting. I know we have used this term a whole lot, and narcissism is the buzzword of the decade. It's a real thing where we can make somebody feel like, why would you ask that? Did you not think of this? And then on the other side, you're saying, oh, maybe I did mean to do that, or I don't know why I asked that, or maybe I should. Yes, gaslighting is a real thing in the workplace where one can make somebody question their own judgment, their own ideas, and their own sense of self-worth, which is terrible. What mental anguish and distress to be gaslit. I've witnessed it in a personal relationship, but at work, ugh. It could also look like having conversations about somebody, but then you haven't invited that person to the table, essentially gossip. If you're concerned, It's one thing to have a discussion of how do I approach this person, but if we're not talking about that, how we can bridge the gap in our communication, then you're just being a little bit trifling. And as a leader or as the person on the other side of that, you should be helping them to make the situation better and not looking for some juicy tea. It's just messy. And I like my environments to be nice and straight lined and clean. Have you ever met somebody that just hoards information without reason, where they're just gatekeeping? And you're like, this ain't even important. It's not even a thing. You have some people that do that because it's a form of power or control to make them feel important. So when you aren't openly sharing information, that's a form of betrayal, of backstabbing, because then you're withholding something that can help somebody do their job better, that can help people make decisions. Another example of workplace incivility is the opposite of what I just mentioned. So it's having conversations about proprietary information in public spaces. There are some things that shouldn't be shared. And I've trained and coached and had conversations where people were discussing private information in public, where people could walk by and we might think it's harmless. Really, this is careless. But people that shouldn't know are now hearing you in earshot. It looks like you don't care, and then that can cause those people to worry. I've seen this in institutions where maybe faculty or staff are having conversations and the students are hearing it, they're concerned about it. I've seen this in healthcare settings about system and policy changes, and patients are hearing about it. Or we're having an internal discussion about same thing, processes, procedures, and clients hear that. All you're doing is starting little fires everywhere. That last one can get your whole operation shut down. But why is this happening though? There's some good reasons. One of them is there's a lot of us in the workplace, a lot of different perspectives, backgrounds, expectations, value systems, etc. Of course, the most obvious is that we have different generations in the workplace. Right now is 5 to be exact. And by January 2025, 75% of the workforce will be millennial. So we've got a lot of different ideas and perspectives of how we do things, which can be a beautiful thing if done right. But if we're interpreting communication as a slight, no matter who it's coming from, that can cause these behaviors. This is also happening because real life is stressful. Today is stressful. And a lot of people aren't able to, or they don't want to compartmentalize. I really can't be mad at that because I understand. And for millennials specifically, we are looking for work-life integration more than work-life balance, especially because a lot of our work is at home. And another reason that I've witnessed, seen, and researched of why all of this backstabbing is happening and rising at this point is because our world has shifted to being self-focused, where it's every man for himself. Integrity and respect are not a priority. We're all kind of trying to survive. I mean, I'm out here making different life decisions every time I go to the grocery store, okay? We have to learn, unfortunately, that respect is not common knowledge or common sense. So, a couple of examples that I promised. One of them is my own personal example, where I had a coworker frolicking through my social media pages and then reporting information to my manager. And the information they shared was not accurate because they were viewing it from their own perspective and they lacked understanding and knowledge. And what it did was put a target on my back, and it created this very large, thick wall of distrust between me and my manager that we never recovered from. That's backstabbing right there, because first of all, why are you going through my profiles? I wasn't even connected with this coworker on any other platforms, but they went searching through my things. What would have been better is to ask questions about the situation. If you are that kind of person that needs to be the super sleuth, I don't know. That one is, I'm an empathetic person. I'm always talking about empathy. That one is a hard one for me to understand because I mind my business. I just mind my business. That person had a different approach, and it was couched within a 360 evaluation. So I had an inkling or guess of who the person was, but the job didn't create a situation to where we could all sit at the table together and have a shared understanding. And it just was downhill from there. Another example is a past client of mine who was a young marketing executive who was sabotaged by her own manager. Basically, she had been working tirelessly on a high-profile campaign only to have her boss present the project and then take ownership for all of the ideas, the strategy, and the creativity that my client had put together. The betrayal was deep enough to where she ended up leaving the company. That's really hard to bounce back from when there is a lack of trust, and especially if it's the person that is directly responsible for you. So obviously she felt emotionally drained and professionally defeated, which did not help her in transitioning to the new space. Quick ways of spotting it, just to increase your self-awareness and to take it from your subconscious into the forefront of your mind, and I will probably do a deeper video about this later, is people becoming distant. When people start to detach and they only talk to you or interact with you if absolutely necessary, that's an open door possibly for betrayal and backstabbing. Or heck, they just probably trying to get out of there. Favoritism, need I say more? Lack of eye contact, and stalking other people's pages. So people doing the most in those areas are some quick ways that you can spot that there is at least a turning away from you and an opportunity for the betrayal and the backstabbing to happen. Yes, there's many more, but these are some key ones that you'd be able to identify right away. So what's the takeaway from all of this? I just want you to be aware of what is happening in your environment to help you distinguish normal behavior from toxic behavior. Because sadly, toxic behavior and characteristics have become so commonplace that we think it's normal. So we have risen to the level of dysfunction instead of addressing it. Lines are blurred now. Workplace betrayal is a serious issue that demands our attention and action today. Especially for my leaders out there, you might be the person doing some of this. It's not too late to address this. There's no need to feel shame. What we care about is creating better spaces for leaders and colleagues to work together, to collaborate, and to create the very best thing possible based on what your industry and what your job does. It's up to us as leaders to recognize the warning signs and address those root causes so that we can build a positive, more supportive, collaborative, and safe work environment. Pay attention to your surroundings. Anyways, thank you for watching. And if you've experienced workplace betrayal or backstabbing, I want to hear from you in the comments. Share your story so that we can learn and support each other. Also, be sure to check out my video on how to build leadership soft skills, where I explore how to get better at the people part of your role. And I will check you out in the next video.